Right, we are live, episode 3, Fit With Us. How are we today, Gary?
Very well. Hello and welcome everybody to episode 3. Well, I say I'm very well. I'm a wee bit rough. I'm a wee bit tender around the edges. I had 2 pints yet. No, I had a lot more than 2 pints yesterday, but I am definitely feeling it this morning. So Kyle's going to have to take the lead on this one, I think.
I love how it's just the automatic answer when somebody asks you how you're doing. You're going very well. You said that's a fucking lie. You're dying.
That's a complete lie.
Um,
how are you doing, mate? How's your week been?
Probably a lot better. I'm feeling today a lot better than you are, I'd imagine. Week's been good, mate. I really utilised that extra hour of sleep this morning and decided. I actually forgot about it. I'm being honest, mate. I was like finding a tenner in your pocket. I was like, class. I've got an extra hour this morning, so I've got the new Spider-Man game, and I've just not had a chance to play it at all. It's been literally sitting in the house for like the last week and a half, and I say not had a chance. I've played about half an hour of it, but I was like, I'm going to use that extra hour today to get Spider-Man. So I've preloaded the day with getting all my steps done. I've essentially made my food. Everything's sorted, mate. So I've got the day prepped that I can just sit and play Spider-Man for a wee hour or two. So looking forward to that.
Good man. Get it in you. I can't wait. Obviously, I go and pick up my new car in a couple hours as well, so I'm absolutely delighted for that. And that's about as exciting as my day's getting. I've got work to do for my Christmas cut tomorrow, so I'll be working late on into the night. Anyway, that's enough about us.
Yeah, that's not what the people want to hear, mate. Yeah, like I think the premise of this episode is we titled it "Metrics That Matter," but I think. Like I touched on this in my story today. Like Molly May came out and said that we've got everybody has 24 hours in their day. I think it got a lot of backlash at the time, and I'm going to be a controversial one here. I actually kind of agree with the sentiment she was saying. I think we all do have. Well, today we've got 25 hours, ironically, but like most of us do have 24 hours. Obviously, with that, there are certain obstacles that come up, and there's certain ways that we can all kind of implement that. The one thing that we all do have the same is time. So I think actually looking at setting up a day to get the biggest bang, not even just your day, but your day, your week, your month, your year, so that it's optimized for you to get results. Instead of just trying to throw shit at the wall and wasting energy and hoping something sticks, that we actually can kind of break down what a process looks like. Would that be fair to say it? And you want to add to that, Gary?
No, sounds good, man. Sounds good. It's just a case of diving into it now and seeing what shit we can come up with.
That's cool. So
yeah, first of all, before we dive into it, man, what about Chandler?
Oh mate, drowned in a jacuzzi. They said there were no drugs found at the scene. I would probably say that he consumed most of them before he went in it. If you're going to go in a jacuzzi by yourself full of gear, that's the way to do it.
Aye. Oh, that's a shame, man. Gutted. Not I knew him personally, but I'm still gutted.
No, that obviously, like the Friends reunion the last couple of times has been pretty shit, mate. So I was kind of holding out for them doing a proper one, but unless like CGI is getting really good, it's not happening anymore. That's what off the table, isn't it?
Aye, very true, mate, very true. Right, we want to just dive into this then?
Yeah, mate. I think probably just looking at like the way we'd set up a process and finding out, because again, there's different metrics for different things. So I think probably looking at the importance of each of them. But I think for any of us, goal setting and the way us PTs or coaches tend to go about things is like you roadmap things out long term. So you always kind of dive deeper into what somebody wants long term and then kind of work backwards from it. So again, if we were to start at like whether it be fat loss or whether it be muscle building, whether it be whatever, we look at the end point. And I think probably the easiest thing to look at, you're starting at, is it a 6-week challenge that you're doing? Yeah. So look, I've got one of them. So I mean, if we're to look at like the fundamentals of how that works is, let's say in 6 weeks, most people would love to lose a stone. A stone's loosely 6 kilos, 6 weeks, a kilo a week for 6 weeks. So a lot of people would get overwhelmed by the fact that they just need to lose a stone. How do they go about that? Whereas if you actually break it down to start off with and going, right, in 6 weeks, we want you to lose, look at the end point, 6 kilos. How do we break that down? It's a kilo a week, every week. And what actions can you do to essentially control that? So from a fat loss perspective, the things that would help break things down from a fat loss perspective would be your steps, your nutrition, your daily movement, Again, we can go into quality of nutrition and all of that, but there's lots of facets to it, but actually there really are just some simple things. You need to move more and eat less. You could theoretically lose weight going to the gym. So, we'll maybe dive in a little bit to that. So, steps. Starting off with steps. Most people, like, you heard blanket terms of like 10k steps, and you need to get 10k, and that can overwhelm people because realistically 10k steps would be great for somebody but might not be so great for somebody else. And the premise,
am I right in saying that the number 10k came from like a company trying to advertise their own kind of pedometer?
It was indeed, mate. I think it was a Japanese company.
Was it? Aye, and then it's just stuck, and everybody thinks this is a magic number when in reality it's not. It's just a random fucking number that these kind of PTs and coaches have adopted from this Japanese pedometer company and made it seem like it's their own. And when it, like I say, in reality, it's not. Everybody's step count is going to be completely different. If you're working in an office for 8 hours, if you're in the office for 9 hours, say, including your lunch break, 10,000 steps is going to be difficult for you to get if you're sitting in your ass all day, every day.
Yeah, I think
it's going to be very difficult to get.
I think your average, hold on, Kyle, get your words. I think your average office worker, like, it's somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 steps a day. And again, if you give them like 10k steps, for some that will be very, very difficult. Like, it's not just an office worker. You need to. This is where generic plans tend to not work for a lot of people, and they find it hard to sustain. Is the fact that, like, yes, you might work on your backside for a period of time, and then you go home and you've got kids to deal with, you've got like possibly a partner that you're having to spend time with. It's essentially a big balancing act, let alone like stresses, deadlines, staying longer at work. And our job isn't to just go a blanket 10k, and then I've heard some awful methods of just making people feel terrible if they don't get it, like it's their fault, they don't want it enough. It's not simple. It's finding time in that person's day. So again, what they're willing to do and what they can do, and actually looking at somebody's diary, because a lot of us, like, there's not one of us among us right now, we're stretched for time. You ask anybody for time and they're like, no, I've not got time. I mean, none more so than lockdown. Like, I'm not going to go into specifics, but I was living with people who had all the time in the world, and even then they didn't have time. It's a matter, to an extent, of priorities, but with that shifting a narrative to how can we utilize your time the best? Because no matter how busy you are, there are gaps in your day that we can make more productive, and it shouldn't always feel like you're putting more effort in. It's trying to make that as frictionless as possible. So, that makes sense.
Absolutely, mate. I completely agree with you 100%. Like you say, a lot of people do have a lot more time than they want to admit, or than they actually do realise. And like you say, it's just a case of kind of prioritising the right sort of things. And if you've got a target that you want to work towards, you need to fucking prioritise the right things.
When I was building the business, I always remember like having this argument with Jen of like tidying the house, and I was like, I don't have time. And like, I'm not saying, like, I've had down periods where like it's been built to a point where I'm like, right, I don't need to push as hard in it. Still don't have time to do Hoover. I never find the time. I do it, but I'm also like, oh Jesus, I'm going to try and rush this as much as I can, or like it's asked to then do the dishes and top of that. Like, it is just a matter of priorities in terms of like, in my head, I'll never have time to do housework. It's something that needs to be done, and I think it is just looking at some of the things that you can do daily and weekly that will get you to where you want to be. And going back to the 10,000 thing, just to actually give people a bit more specificity on that. 10k steps typically is, so health benefits tend to peak out at around 8k steps. The research says around 8k steps is you get as much benefit doing 8k as you do 12k, 14k, 16k. Like, so I would say for the majority of people, try and aim for a minimum of 8k, just because again, it will help standardise your sleep. It will help you, again, from a calorie perspective, burn things, gets blood flow moving, and again, health benefits. With that said, 10K is also typically more than your average person does. I think your average steps in the UK is 5.5. I think they've done it, like, I don't know who they're fucking knocking on the door to find out what their average step count is, but I don't know the data from, but I think it was 5.5K. So 10K steps tends to be more than what you're doing. That's why it's a target. And to be fair, it sounds kind of catchy. So I've even fallen into that.
Yeah.
Sort of, like 10K, we all have. But 10K also burns, like, I think it's between 30 and 70 calories for every 1,000 steps you do, but let's split it down the middle for, like, let's say it's 50 calories per 1,000.
Yep.
10,000 steps, you burn 500 calories a day. 500 calories a day, again, is a very decent amount. We're not built to sit down most of the time. Calories are higher than they ever have been, and it's good to, our movement's less. So 10K steps isn't a plus, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And like I say, everybody's target's going to be different, but that kind of aiming for that 8K at least is a great place to start, no matter kind of what walk of life you come from, no matter what your job is. Just kind of aiming for that 8K is a fantastic place to start. And then you can kind of look to build on that kind of going forward, but don't feel pressured into building on it straight away. Just aim for the 8K and just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it.
One of the things that, like, I've implemented myself is, like, I still do to an extent. Like, I'm not a morning person. I would much rather just stay up late and get things done. But with that said, I find, particularly how busy things are for me at times, like, getting up in the hours between like 6 in the morning and like 8:30 tend to be the time where my phone's not buzzing. It gives me a good start to the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I tend to just take the dog a walk at that point. Now, like, mine's is 4K by 9 a.m. I try and post it in the stories as much as I can, but I do have a memory like a sieve because the caffeine's not kicked in at that time. So it tends to be about 11:30. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to post that. But I try and get 4K done, because for every 10 minutes of walking tends to equate to about 1,000 steps. So if you look at that, 40 minutes equals 4K steps for most people. Like, some faster, some slower. I'm not going to generalize that, but I think most people could get somewhere between a 20 and 40-minute walk, even if it's just like going to the shop to get yourself a coffee, or going to like whatever that may be in the morning. I don't know if people still read papers or whatever. I just look at pictures and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I do, like, obviously I do my walking talk with the group that I'm working for as well online every Saturday. And it's just to get people up and out nice and early, and see by the time we get home, we've rattled at least 6,000 steps. And like before 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, it's class. And then that sets people up for the day, because they're not stressed about getting the rest of their steps in, because they've got plenty of time. They can kind of take the foot off the gas a wee bit, relax, enjoy their weekend, rather than be like, shit, I need to go and do 10, 12,000 steps today. And then it's all a big hullabaloo, and then they end up not doing any steps because they can't be bothered. But yeah, just getting up and, like you say, prioritising. See, if you do work in an office and you don't start till 9 o'clock, what's stopping you getting up at 6 in the morning and going for a half an hour walk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, I agree. I think that is about carving out those times. Time's not something you're given; it's something that you need to take at times. And definitely, it's one of those ones. It's like, nobody is coming to do things for you. Like, unfortunately, there is going to have to be. I always say this: you need to force a routine before it becomes normal. Like, and even that 21-day thing, like, that's also been proven that, like, 21 days to make a habit is actually a lot of shit. Like, I don't know where that even came from, to be honest. I've not looked deep enough into it, but apparently, like, studies would say it actually takes somewhere between, I think it's 18 and 48 days, which is actually quite. I think the mean average was 33 days that it takes to form like routine. So it's one of those ones you literally are going to have to force to become like routine. And once it becomes routine, though, like, you only have a certain amount of mental energy each day. Like, your brain, considering how small of an organ it is, some smaller than others, but your brain, no matter how small an organ it is, actually, I think it consumes like 30% of carbohydrates throughout the day, which is a lot of energy for a muscle that doesn't, technically an organ, that doesn't really do a lot of movement. So, like, when you're having to think things through, it consumes a lot of energy. And realistically, that can be, again, that's why you typically feel like, if you're sitting in an office, like, you're going to feel tired even moved. And the unfortunate thing, as much as it's consuming carbohydrate, it's not really burning the same amount of calories that you would if you're walking out and about. So it's one of those ones that, like, once things become more routine, you don't need to think about, again, going out for a walk, because it's just something you do. It's not something that you like have to think about in terms of your food, which we'll move on to food in a minute. But like these habits and routines can massively help. And I can't stress someone enough to act like the person that they want to be. Like it's not going to be, it's not going to be perfect. Like you just need to look at every action that you do and go, is this reflective of the person that I want to be? And again, it's only you that can answer.
Aye, 100%. And the thing about me and you is we're pretty straight up about things as well. We don't try and sugarcoat it. And like you said, like you're going to have to force yourself to create these new habits. And honestly, it's going to be fucking hard. And you just need to accept that it's going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle. But the more and more and more you do it, the easier it's going to become. And then it will become routine. Then it will become habitual. And like you say, Kyle, you'll not even think about it. It'll just be automatic. But it's pushing through that kind of first phase of it as such, just to kind of try and make it sink in, and then you can reap the rewards.
Yeah, I think going back to that as well, though, it's like we're so programmed to want, or the majority of us want instant gratification. So
yeah,
with that, if you're not, again, going back to the metrics that matter, if you don't really know what you're measuring with that and you're not seeing a result, then that's where you start to want to throw in the towel. So because again, probably fat loss is the most simplistic one to do, but this can be transferable to muscle building. It can be transferred to strength in terms of how much you're looking to gain each week. But let's say, again, it's a kilo a week each week. And let's say that you want to see a quantifiable response. Like you want to ideally take your weight measurements, like you want to take that every day and you want to get an average throughout the week, because you'll find what works. And I think people are scared to see failure sometimes. Like, and it's one of those ones that, like, it's almost like what you want to, because you will fail. Like it's inevitable. Like there's days that even with this routine, I try and post about this when I can as well. The days where I set out to do something, I'll not be able to do it. Like where, like I'll sleep in, or you'll go on the sesh last night, and actually, in fairness, you have set out to do what you want to do today. But there'll be days where all intentions are great, but at the same time, it's just like everything kind of falls by the wayside because you're a human being, and it's like you are going to fuck it at times, but when you actually find what works, and again, it's just about getting that little bit better. Like, oh, sure, you went out and you had a work night out on Thursday night and you ate too much pizza. Like, it's not like the world has fallen apart. It's just a case of, right, if we're to do that again, what would you do differently? Is it the fact that you starved yourself all day because you're scared about like eating, and then of course you inevitably, like, the pizza was in front of you and you're just like, right, geese it. Like, is there something, can we maybe try and push lunch out a wee bit more so that you're not as hungry when it comes to the pizza, and have maybe 5 slices instead of the entire pizza? Like, that's those things. But anyway, getting back to the point of, you need to be able to measure things, because people aren't like this motivation thing. Motivation comes on the back of progress. It's not the opposite way about. And for progress to happen, you need to put the work in. So you'll tend to find that if you've seen that you've lost 2 kilos in 2 weeks, you're then motivated to continue, because you're like, fuck, like, I'm magic, I'm losing weight and things are working for you. It's not like you're motivated and then that happens. It literally is the people who get the most rewards, like, you'll find that they are the ones who stick to it more. So it's important to see quantifiable things. And I think the things that can be measured when it comes to fat loss would be weight, your circumference measurements. Do you like tape measurements? Do you do that?
Measurements, yeah.
Do you get people to do that, like tape measurements? What do you use for fat loss?
I actually don't. I don't get them to do measurements. If they want to do them, I'm not going to tell them no. But the metrics that I use are weigh every day, so we can get an average for the week. Progress photos. They don't have to do it every week. They can do it once a month. They don't have to share it with me either. They can just keep a hold of it on their own phone, and then once they see the difference, they'll be like, "Oh, look at this." Then they'll show me it. And there's another wee kind of technique as well that's a good one. Find a pair of tight jeans or a tight skirt or a tight t-shirt that you want to get into, or a tight shirt, whatever it is, and try that on every 2 weeks, or try them on every 2 weeks, and see if you can get closer and closer and closer. I would say that's a good metric to measure your progress as well, just because There's so much more to your fat loss and fitness journey than just a number on a fucking scale. So real life things like being able to fit into your old pair of jeans that you've not had on in 10 years when you used to be a size 10 is realistic. And so trying them on every kind of couple of weeks to see if you can get them a wee bit closer. And then before you know it, bang, they fit. You're away out on a night out with these old jeans that you've not had on in 10 years. So that's the kind of metrics that I use to measure fat loss. Have you got any other wee kind of tricks up your sleeve?
I was gonna say, mate, I've been wearing the same jeans for about 10 years, mate. just I've not had a new pair. No, like I'd agree on that. I think the more metrics you can get for it, like, because weight, I will go, yeah, weight will fluctuate. I do think is relevant to a point. Like, you don't see somebody who's carrying a bit too much and you like they tell you their weight and it's like 50 kilos. Like, yeah, like if they're 6'2", like you're like there is a correlation between somebody's weight and body composition to a point for the majority of people. But with that said, it can be it highly fluctuates, particularly if your diet changes. Like your macronutrients can be the same, but if one night you're having like potatoes, the next night you're having rice, like one of them holds more water and one of them doesn't, regardless of the energy value. So as over time, that's one of the things. But again, short-term wins, you're looking at, like, yes, I don't typically get people to do like circumference measurements. I always say it's an addition to, rather than like, it's not something I would typically use as like the be all end all. And it's simply just because most people are inaccurate or try and find favorability as to, like, if they want to feel better about themselves, all of a sudden they've like taken down ever so slightly from the belly button to something else and trying to find these wee parts. The same with like skinfold calipers can be useful, but again, it's always dependent on who they are. But again, progress pictures, the ones I do use to just cut through the shit here. But I do use weighted measurements. I would rather you weigh yourself every single day and try and become not numb to the number, but realistically, I do know what it still means. Because even me, when it happens to me, I'm like, I know the process behind it. I see if that thing doesn't move, I'm like, what? You fucking with me? I've done everything I'm meant to do. But yeah, that, and then like I think progress pictures are a massive one. I actually had somebody recently enough who, like, we all have poor weeks, like, as in, like, as much as I'm like motivation creates, like, progress creates motivation, like, you will have weeks where you do everything right and then it just doesn't seem like things are going your way. And it's always good, like, say if somebody's 8 weeks in, 12 weeks in, and they've not looked at it, there's something so powerful about pulling up the pictures and go, right, see that person 8 weeks ago, that's a completely different person to who you are now. Let's look at you, because I always get people to say how they quantifiably feel as well. So like, there's that, but also like, how are you feeling? Like you said 2 weeks ago, you're fitting into those jeans, you're feeling class and night out. I'm very aware this week stress is a wee bit higher, digestion is not great, you're holding on to a bit more weight, but like, just because you're feeling like you're having a tougher week and I'm here to support you, doesn't mean it's fucked, mate. Like, you're like 8 weeks ago, you're a different person.
Aye, that's the thing. Like, they're obviously looking at themselves every single day. They don't see the physical changes. But when you've got a photo to compare it to from 8 weeks ago, and they're like, fucking hell, I didn't realise that's how different I am from then until now. So progress photos are massive. And I've worked with so many people before where they've came to me afterwards and they said, I wish I took progress photos at the start. So just do it. You don't need to share it with anybody. Front, side and back, or just front and side. Doesn't have to be back. Just keep them on your phone, put them away somewhere safe, and then in 8, 10, 12 weeks time, take another photo, compare them, boom, Bob's your uncle.
A wee hack as well, because a lot of people think that they need somebody else to take their progress photos of, and that can be quite intimidating, or again, not really time efficient if you're waiting for somebody, like you're making dinner and your partner, right, hold on to, I whip off my clothes here, take them in the middle of the kitchen, in the bathroom, whatever. But get your phone, put it on a front facing camera, record it, like record a video and then just screenshot the 3 different positions. Like, you can get yourself a wee tripod as well, it helps. Like, you can get them cheap enough.
Here as well.
Like, obviously not essential, like you can just get a water bottle and stick it beside it, or a decent size height and whatever, but try and get the same lighting, same position, same whatever each time, and it's not, doesn't need to go anywhere, but it does help. But look, I think from the movement and progress side of things, spot on. There's obviously Nutrition's a big one, because I think like metrics in nutrition, it's just so like because everybody eats. Like there's not a person that I have ever met who's still alive who doesn't eat because it doesn't really work out well if you do it. So
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion about food, rightly or wrongly, but underpinning opinion is science. So realistically, there are different ways to measure food. Like realistically, everything that you do, if there was one metric that matters more than anything else, it's probably food and your food intake, because you can manipulate food. It's one variable that can be manipulated for energy, weight gain, weight loss, muscle building. Like it's the one thing there, and there's so many different ways. And I think it's always been simple, but there's so much more information out there, but people are so more confused than they ever have been. So like I think at the very top end of things, and how like the starting point for me for a lot of people is tracking food. And if we look at the opposite end of the scale, is intuitive eating. Like they are the complete opposite ends of the scale, where one of them you're going everything to the absolute T and weighing it out, measuring it out, everything else. And at the very bottom there, you've got like intuitive eating, which is theoretically you eat what you feel. Now, sure, you will have a wide variety of people who, on one hand, is like life is for living on the intuitive eating scale, but I'm like, apply that to any other sort of like thing in life. Like, do you, if life, imagine go to work in the morning, and go, I don't fancy today, life's for living. Like you can't control your thought process. Like you see somebody attractive and you're like, oh, life's for living, fuck my partner. Like it's not, everything has, life is for living, but there are consequences to absolutely everything. There will be times that, you know what, last night for you, going out on the sesh, that's worth it. For me, again, there'll be times where I'm like, right, happy days, party time. Like it's the same thing, but realistically, it's about being able to identify what it is. And a lot of the signals that you get from your body, particularly if you're not in the position you want to be to start off with, aren't exactly correct decisions to make. You want anything to add to that?
No, mate, no, you absolutely fucking nailed that one again. I think talking about me being at the sesh last night, I think my brain's just absolutely fried right now, and I feel like what I've put in so far, I'm actually quite happy with it.
Yeah, mate, you just keep.
It's a lot more than I thought I was going to.
You just keep patting yourself on the back.
Talking about tracking your food and stuff. I am a firm believer in every single person should track food for at least a week, meticulously, everything that goes into their mouth, just so they can then build up some sort of knowledge base of what is in what foods, portion control. Now, you're not going to get it right. Was it last week we were talking about the nutritionists? Like this is their job, their career, and they were still intuitively eating but getting it wrong, like guessing, like was it between 500 and 800 calories out or something like that?
I think it was more than that. I think it was up to 1,000 calories. It was something mad like that. Yeah.
So fucking Stephen or Jane who's coming to you or coming to us and being like, oh, I know how much. No, you fucking don't. But, track for a week. Sorry, on you go.
No, mate. I was just going to say, like, we had an example that.
Yes. Talk about it.
So I was over in Glasgow during the week, and I met Gary, and we were like, "Oh, we'll go for some food." And we had a discussion. It was like, I'm kind of trying to lose a bit of the husk that I put on during the honeymoon. So I was like, before the Christmas period. So I was like, look, I'm not going to go anything mad. I was like, it's probably going to be something that's fairly standard, like Nando's or something. Guys, let's go to KKL Kitchen. We don't get that over in Ireland, or not that I know of anyway. But I was like, happy days, cool. So turned up at KKL Kitchen, looked at the menu, and there's some, like, straight away, like both of us looked at it, and there was a few wee alarm bells going, because there was a full like fry up, and it was like 2 eggs, toast, butter, beans, and whatever. And it's like say 600 calories, 700 max, but it's got 60 or 70 grams of protein. And I was like, those must be some fucking eggs with that amount of protein.
We could not figure out where this protein was coming from, honestly. There was a couple of bits of bacon on it as well, but not enough to warrant 70 grams on that fucking menu.
Super bacon, mate. Super high protein bacon with no fat. Yeah, we didn't get that anyway. Long story short, we didn't get that. We got pancakes, and it was, what did we get on top of the pancake? It was like battered chicken with
Himalayan salt and chili chicken.
Yes, sweet and chili sauce or something, right? So like just on it, like quick calculation in the head, you're going, well, the chicken's been battered, it's deep fried, whatever it is. It's got sauce on it that's just full of like sugar. You've got pancakes there, and I don't imagine they were like done in the air fryer. So, like, I think the calories were like 650 or something like that on the whatever, and the protein probably was accurate enough, don't know. But anyway, I put it up in my story as to how many calories you put in. Like, even we were like, there's no chance of 650 calories, but put it up my story, and I had quite a few coaches message going, nah, that's definitely upwards of 1,000. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just going by the calories that was on. I agree with you, but I ended up doing a wee well, let's just watch what they're saying in case I get a lawsuit here from KCAL Kitchen.
Fuck KCAL Kitchen.
Yes, again to that turning point in the podcast where it just gets aggressive. So yeah,
they can fucking come ahead. Their pancakes only that good.
Yeah, the talk shite. So yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, I found an article that apparently they've been exposed in 2018 or 19. Don't check my references. But it was pretty much that their meals were actually up to 500 calories out. And Gary actually said that he's got a mate, a client, don't know, but they've got somebody that, what was it you said, that they work in the food standard agency?
One of the coaches in the gym that I'm working from just now, she was talking to me, and she knows someone, or she's got a friend that works in food somehow. I can't remember the exact title she gave, but they said that the government standard guidelines give like a 20-gram buffer. So let's say we went into KCAL and those pancakes said 40 grams of protein. If they had 20 grams of protein in it, that would still be deemed acceptable, and they would still get away with putting 40 grams of protein on the menu. That is how like much out it can be. So don't always believe what you read on the menus. Sorry, I know you want to say something here. I can see the mouth twitching.
No, mate, I was just going to say, I wonder if that's still applicable to like a protein shake, because a protein shake's got 20 grams of protein in it. But what's to say that somebody's just like literally selling you flavoured powder, claiming it's got 20 grams of protein in it, and they can get away with it? Like, that's absolute madness. I don't know where that ends, but I think, like, I was just going to, pretty much the point I think you were going to here, I think is when you absolutely can eat out and still get results. But I think that's why it's super important to almost overestimate how many calories that you consume. And also, like, I'm going to be honest, from a fat loss perspective, it shouldn't last forever. However, it is going to last forever if you're constantly having like what I would call a calorie leak, in the sense that there's things like that are constantly in your diet that are so subjective. So ideally minimizing that to I want to say 80-20 in terms of like 80% of your calories coming from good food and 20% sparkling. But realistically, I would say even try to close that gap even more. Like, I'd say if you're eating out and the foods that are being prepared for you aren't directly in your control, I'd be very skeptical as to what's in them. So that's
100%, mate. Always overshoot it. One of my clients just now, he's like moving house. He's in Canada. He's moving from Vancouver to Chilliwack, which is quite a distance, right? So he's been eating out a lot the past week. Every day he's sending me photos of all his food. And I always say to him, like, we want to try and overshoot this by about 300 calories just to give you that kind of that buffer, just in case. We do not know how that's being prepared. We don't know what's in that sauce. Have they used full fat cream? Have they used semi-skimmed cream? Do you know what I mean? So he's been back and forward with me all week. And don't get me wrong, like, some of the stuff he's sending me, I'm like, yeah, jammy bastard, I want some of that. But when you are eating out, always get a second pair of eyes as well. Like, always ask for someone else's opinion. Know your mum or anything like that who doesn't know fuck all about nutrition. But someone that's got a pretty decent kind of understanding of nutrition. Me and Kyle, just ask us. Fuck it. Just send us your photo.
I'm going to join this. I actually genuinely feel like there's just going to be random people sending us pictures of food. I'm here for it, mate. I will 100%. If you're listening to this, send us a picture of the next meal that you have for a laugh. Just do it. Come on.
Yes.
Join in.
And do you know what to do? Send us a picture of the next meal that you have, and if you've tracked it, we'll try and guess the calories. How about that?
Jesus, a busy day ahead. So yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'll give you a working response in 3 to 5 days. But no,
Aye, that's it. That's it. Kyle sends you a voice note next week.
yeah.
No, do you know what we should do though? We should try and like take the photos and maybe try and respond to them next podcast.
It's a fucking Gary. That's why they pay you the big bucks. Like, I'm here for that. Yeah.
Right, let's do it then. Get your food photos in, get your dinner photos in, and we'll try and guess the calories and show you how inaccurate we are. And we are like, I'm not even going to say trained professionals, but we know some stuff about food.
Well, speaking of Maz, my Maz grilled me recently for not spelling professionals correct, so I can't really call myself a professional if I can't
You
spell
can
it.
do what the duck was it double S or double F
I
instead of
think I
double
put
S?
a-
or something?
I mean, do you know what? I think I might have put a double F instead of double S. I mean, you know that way. I'm like, if I was that good at English, I'd be an English teacher or something. I don't know. Like, I'd say to my Maz, like, I put probably about 1,000 words on Instagram a day. I was like, if the one thing you're picking up on is the fact that I've spelled professionals wrong, then look, you're missing the message. But that's
Aye, what chance have you got?
I was going to say that, but in saying that, there probably should be an element of me actually making sure that the spell checker doesn't work in Canva. I'm just going to throw it out. Anyway, different story. We're moving on.
Different story.
So I think
Aye.
I was just going to say that, like, the metrics that are important again are calorie. You're only going to be as accurate as the calories in the way that you log them. Like, I've seen clients of mine, not naming any names, but I've seen clients of mine log a doner kebab at 300 calories, and I've yet to see a kebab at 300 calories, not particularly in the way that I consume them anyway. And then I have seen that you can go on MyFitnessPal. I'm pretty sure it's still there. That if you looked at Hop House 13, like a pint of it is, you can literally pick an option that says 13 calories, which, I mean, that'd be
Nice.
class. Like, imagine how many of them you could fit in, like, at 13 calories, which doesn't make sense, but I mean, it's accuracy. So, again, the reason that coach is so powerful, and I put up a post about this a while back, is like, before I actually had a coach, I thought for my energy means I'd done a wee calculator thing, and I was like, realistically, 2,500 calories for me should have been a deficit at the weight I was. But at 2,500 calories, I found that I was maintaining, I lost a wee bit of weight, but I was maintaining, like, it just wasn't having the effect that it should have been. And I actually then, when I got a coach, found out, I know this, again, I'm here to say my mistakes as well. Like, I was cooking like bacon in like half a pool of oil and not logging the oil properly, like just, it's not in oil, or like you'd be putting, I don't know, what do you call it, Nutella in your porridge in the morning, and all of a sudden you'd be logging it as like a spoonful, but a spoonful can be anything, and it's so dense that anything. And then I was probably guilty of not logging the weekends at times, because you know what, if I had 4 cans, you know what, I had that cheeky wee extra one, I didn't log it at the time, and forgot it. It's just one of those ones. It's like you're only as accurate as that. So I think it's important that, like, calorie accuracy will be massive. And it's not that you want to be restrictive on it, but the same thing goes in the sense of, like, people go, oh, it's restrictive. I'm like, yeah, but I've never heard anyone who's actually in the shape that they want to be say that. It's always a get out, because it's the same with people who weight to a large extent. I always find the people who don't want to weigh themselves are the people who don't know how to control weight itself, and they get triggered by it. And I get that, but again, it's not. The difference between, I always say, it's the difference between driving a car and crashing a car. Like, it's when it comes to being accurate with your calories, it is just a case of like overestimating things. And then, like, again, when it comes to the like oils and stuff, we're not trying to tell you to be super restrictive. It's a case of, if you're putting on 300 calories of oil in your food, like, would you rather that 300 calories? And if you're doing that daily, like, that's 300 calories you'd be having on something else. I'm sure if you had the choice, you'd rather 300 calories on eating something else rather than 300 calories of oil. Like,
100%, aye, 100%. There was something else that I was going to touch on there that you mentioned. With regards to like tracking foods as well, one of the clients that I'm working with in the group, she asked a question. I think it was in the group, and she's like, it might have been somebody that you know, sorry, anyway. They were saying about like tracking their food, and like our friends and stuff were saying that's an eating disorder, or that's a one-way ticket to an eating disorder, tracking their food. Does that ring any bells, or is it from my side of things?
I could think of a few people that might have said it, but yes, yeah.
And it's absolutely not a one-way ticket to an eating disorder. You're just, building up your knowledge base of food. You're just building up your knowledge base of nutrition. You're learning. You're taking things on board. We don't expect people to track every single day for the rest of their life. That's not a realistic thing to be doing. But like I say, track meticulously, for a week, build up a wee bit of knowledge base, and then take it for there and see if you are kind of struggling and you're like, why am I not losing any weight? Track your food and you'll probably find out the answer.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go off in one here. So just you take a wee minute, get the kettle on here. So yes, the position has been assumed. So yeah, you can. Let's go through. So you can get like Weight Watchers works, keto works. You can. I'm actually even struggling to think of different. Like you can go to like I was going to say a vegan diet, but like you can go to a carnivore diet. You can go to anything that majorly you can do a like carb-free diet, high-fat diet, an intermittent fasting diet, and the mechanism behind them all is restriction and trying to elicit a calorie deficit. The only thing that out of everything that actually shows you and teaches you how they'll work is learning through calories themselves. But let's take the because again, we started this with food everybody has an opinion on because everybody eats it. Let's take the emotion out of it. Let's take that to another aspect of life because I always think that it can resonate a little bit more if you look at a different perspective. So let's put that into like spending and finances. Like, would the same thing be applied like for your spending? Or if you check your bank balance, that's a one-way ticket to poverty. Or like if you check like how much something costs, and like, well, in my opinion, like you can over time when you know how much you can spend and how much you're making, then you don't always need to check your bank every day. But at first, if you don't know how much, particularly things that cost, the things, the difference between the world in terms of being able to spend things is a very definitive, this costs this much, whereas you don't have that nutrition. But if you don't actually know how much things cost, you think it costs a fiver, but you've been charged 20 quid, you soon find that like your bank balance will be depleted. And that's the issue most people have, is the fact that like they don't know how to, again, spend their calories correctly. So my biggest thing, if you look at that, again, going back to the financial perspective, like the one thing, if you're saving for a house, a mortgage, or anything else, like you do need to know the incomings versus outgoings. Like the bank would be sitting there going, no chance I'm giving you a mortgage because you're a fucking idiot with your spending. Like, and that's what they do. But apparently that's not restrictive. Whereas like you bring that to a food aspect of things, and because everybody has an opinion, and quite wrongly, I would say that this is actually the easiest time in the world to get in shape. Controversial opinion, but realistically, we have more low-calorie foods and options. You've got skinny sausage, you've got witchcraft going on, you've got like diet drinks, you've got an option for absolutely everything. And the majority of people are so stuck in their own ways, or don't. Again, they can be stuck in your own ways of education, but realistically, there is an option for 10% less food enjoyment. Would you rather take 90% results? I don't really like Coors Light. I'm going to throw it out there. So it wouldn't be my preference. I'd much prefer a Moretti, a Hop House, or something to that degree. But you know what? I'll drink, if I'm going for a fat loss phase and I'm going for a drink, I'll drink Coors Light because guess what? I have the socials of being able to go out. Realistically, after 3 or 4 pints, it doesn't fucking matter anyway. But realistically, I'm then saving, 400 or 500 calories for the evening. Like, it's not, people are like, oh, how can you drink that? I'm like, well, I'm not doing it because I fucking love it. Like, if I was to go, life is for living, I'd be on something else. But realistically, it is about making those smart decisions.
Course, right.
I was going to say that, John Glad that game, mate. Possibly still.
No, I completely agree with you as well, mate. Everybody is going to have an opinion. I was getting slaughtered last night for scanning my beers, for scanning my cans. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. And you need to take that approach as well. You're going to have family, you're going to have friends that's going to have an opinion on you tracking food, but it's not their journey. It's not their life. You're doing this journey for you. You're not doing it for them. So their opinion doesn't matter. If you want to track your food, track your fucking food. It's not an eating disorder. Again, it's just building up a knowledge base. It's knowing that you're staying within your calorie limit for the day. If you're on a fat loss journey, like I say, this is your fat loss journey. This isn't their fat loss journey. They can have all the opinions in the world, but it's up to you to be like, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. I'm still going to do it because this is my life and this is what I want to do. And if I don't do it, I'm not going to get to where I want to be. I'm going to remain miserable just because you have an opinion on what I do with my food. So yeah, sorry, I went off on a wee rant there.
I like that, mate. I'm glad to see you're getting over the hangover. I heard a quote during the week that I think is quite relevant, sorry, and it said, if you take advice off a poor person as to how to get rich, it's the fastest way to be broke. And it's the same with like the people around you. I always say, like, are the people around you in the position you want to be? Because a lot of the time they're not. Like, that's the hardest thing. The people that want to give advice are typically the ones who are not in a position to do so. So I never really take criticism off people I want to take advice from as well. But it's a hard thing to do. It is sets and reps. Like, you or I have been for a journey and seen what that actually looks like. That has involved saying no to people, and sometimes people that it's hard to say no to, and still can be hard to say no to. But it's a case of you're saying, if you say yes to them, it's a no to yourself, and you say a no to yourself, then you're not going to get to where you want to be. End of, full stop, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go on.
I was just going to say, is there anything else that you want to cover? Because we're getting on a wee bit here, and I need to go and pick up the new wheels soon.
Right, very quickly, if you've got 5 minutes.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Cool. So I think, look, as much as it's important to look at, like, again, road mapping things out, going backwards, making sure that you are, again, abiding to a period. You can manipulate both steps and nutrition to really get what you want to do. I would always look at, if you're finding that you want weight loss and your weight's going up over a period of not just like today or tomorrow, but over like a 2 to 3 week period, and you're noticing there is a trend where things are starting to go up, then just reduce your calories by, again, 250, 300 calories, or up your steps by 2,000, 3,000 steps. Like, realistically, it can be done in both. You can up your steps by 1,000 and lower your calories by 150. Like, some combination of that. Like, if you need help with that, Gary and I will help you with that, no problem. Keep sending this.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, no issues on that, right? But as much as all this can sound very simplistic, there are also other factors that will affect you doing that. So, as we started the conversation with, everybody had 24 hours in a day, but with that, it's how you utilise that. And a lot of the time, a bit like your phone, if you're not fully charged or ready to go, you're going to just constantly be on, like, what do you call that, power saving mode, and you're just not going to
power saving mode.
Power saving mode. The old Nokia 3310 didn't used to have that. You'd probably get away 5 years with a charge on that bad boy. But with that, like, the way that you're going to be able to do these things and for your body to operate properly is actually looking after your sleep, your stress, your hydration, and the quality of the food intake that you have. And I think with that, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I can survive on 4 hours sleep, or I can get a night's sleep after drinking caffeine at 8 o'clock at night. And you're like, yeah, but I challenge you to put on like a Whoop band and Oura ring, or measure it to some degree, and you'll find out your sleep shit. You're just used to shit sleep, and hence the reason that you never get anything done is because well, it's probably unfair to say, because people can get stuff done. It's just not efficient. How much more efficient you'd be. Life isn't about getting by. It's about what can you do to actually thrive on that. So I would say the biggest thing that I've done is to stop trying to get away with 6 hours sleep, and actually at times having to spend 8.5 hours in bed to try and get 7.5 hours, because you don't fall asleep straight away and you wake up during the night. And there's times where I would rather stay up and watch a Netflix episode because I'm feeling tired from the day. But realistically, see, if I'm feeling tired for the day, fucking last thing I should be doing is staying up and watching Netflix. But you will find magically, once you start to look at these factors, you start to do that, you start to drink some water, stay hydrated, kids. You start to, like, I was allergic to veg until I was 27 years old. Like, genuinely, I had in my diet that was green, but genuinely has changed my life in terms of how energetic, how I recover, like digestion. Like, I still struggle to get it into my food, so you see me eating like raw broccoli and carrots and stuff. Don't judge me. Or judge me, I don't care. But I think once you start to utilize it, it's like, it's one of those things, when you do these things, you start to actually get more energetic, you become more productive, you have more time in your day, you start to show up a lot better when you do those things. But it does, going back to it, does take a wee bit of time to get that routine set up.
Aye. Like, this is going to get off pure sentimental and go deep here, but we only get one fucking shot at this. Stop making it hard for yourself. Make it easier. Make it more enjoyable. Give yourself more energy, and by eating nutritious food and staying hydrated and getting decent sleep, that ticks all the right boxes. So stop making your one fucking chance or your one shot on this planet miserable, because it's in your hands. Whether you want to accept that or not, it is in your hands.
Yeah, I think that's it. Extreme ownership the moment that you accept that you have control over it. And I think Hormozy, I don't know if you listened to him or not, he put up a thing the other day about a guy who was in a position where he had to work 3 jobs to support his kids and everything else. But he was like, the moment you flip your mentality to accept the fact that like nobody's coming to help you, you're going to be the unlucky, you don't have luck here, there's nothing that's going to give you a handout, but this is what you do, this is what the approach you take, you need to literally do this and this. And like the way he said it, I'm just like, there's 100% spot on. Like there's when you start to control the inputs and get really good at controlling the inputs, it's not massive things, like it's the doing the daily task. Like the reason people go to extremes is because they're shit at doing terrible things. It's easy to do the simple things. That's why they never get done. It's easy not to do them. Like you theoretically, like I'm not even going to go into it yet. I know we need to go, so I'm going to leave that there. Yeah,
we'll leave that for another week.
Yeah, I was going to say there's so much there, but I think there's a few things we need to do. Firstly, thank everybody who's still listening or has continued to listen, because I think there's been growth on this episode 3. Big shout out to you all. We do genuinely.
Thank you very much, Steve.
As much as like the messages that come in genuinely do have an impact on our lives, and it makes what we do better as well, and it actually helps us kind of get a feel for helping you as well. And I think one of the things for that is I would stress that if there is anything that we can help with, then please send it out. And even if you want to hear about anything, send it out. We also need to come up with an intro for the podcast, so it's not just live. Well, we should come up with that. So if anybody can help assist with that.
Actually, my mate Dave, he's a musician, and he said to us, if we want an intro, customized intro, we have to let him know. I was actually going to speak to you about that, and you've just reminded me. So yeah, if there's anyone else that wants to chip in as well, and we can just have a big fucking party at the start of the podcasts, then by all means go for it. But yeah, I'll reach out to Dave, see if he's still interested.
Go on, Dave. Cool. Well, look, Gary, again, just where can you find you? We'll just keep on doing this for
you can find me on Instagram at gmac_health and fitness. On Facebook, just at gmac health and fitness. Kyle, where can they find you?
It is biofitness888 on Instagram. I don't even know what I am on Facebook. I think it's just biofitness on Facebook. I don't really.
I think you're just biofitness. Aye.
Don't use Facebook an awful lot, but like if you message me on Facebook, there's a good chance by 2024 that I'll get back to you. So if you want to get Instagram's the way.
Aye, look, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you again, Kyle. Thank you everybody for listening. I do have to shoot off because I need to go and collect my new wheels. That's the third time. That's the third time I've mentioned it. That's how excited I am.
I was going to say, enjoy. Stay off the roads, kids. Right. Cool. Cheers.
Absolutely.